Hello everyone, hello Sky Protocol community, this is Gauthier and I'm here with Fare today. We're going to talk about the node sale of Sky Protocol. So we are at the end of March 2025, this is the beginning of April, and so we are roughly on schedule, and we're going to talk about the node sale. What are the nodes? What are they used for? How do we incentivize people? How is it going to function in a technical way? And what's the purpose in the general Sky Protocol ecosystem? So there we are. Hi, Fare.
Hello.
All right, so Sky Protocol needs more money to launch its data availability network. That was something that was planned all along. So this is the next logical step. And to that end, we were considering selling membership for our initial proof of authority validation network. And so the node sale is something that is very common, but let's delve in the specifics of this node sale. So Fare, can you first of all explain to us what proof of authority is for the people who don't know what it is, and what's the value of a POA, so proof of authority membership, to a purchaser?
Yes. So the first thing is that we eventually want to have a proof of stake network like Cardano and Ethereum and other systems that have proof of stake, where your chances, your share in the validation of the network is proportional to your stake in the network. The number of tokens you stake as a validator. So that's what we want to go to. But like every network so far, it's a lot of code to get it and to get it right. Oh, to get it, you could very easily get it, but to get it right, it's a lot of effort, and we're not interested in getting it wrong, because that's how you get hacked. So we want to get it right. It will take us maybe, say, 2 years to get the proof of stakes right. Even though we're building on the shoulders of giants, it will not be, say, 10 years to get it right. So in the meantime, we want to still have a network, and for that we use proof of authority, which is a simpler system, less decentralized, but easier to get right, in which there is a fixed committee or a fixed number of committee members. You know who they are. It's as if they each have the same share or stake, and you do a round robin or some other system to know who is part of the current committee. And it works, it's safe, it's not economically very flexible, it's not very liquid, but you know what, for the first 2 or 3 years, that's more than enough. In some ways, it can be seen as safer as a proof of stake, especially when the market is not liquid anyway. So if it's rigid, it's okay, because it means that none of these proof of authority members have too much weight. Like they have equal weight, which is not too much, not too little. So yeah, it's about the right thing to start a network. A lot of networks start with proof of authority before they go proof of stake, and that's what we're doing. We're starting centralized for a very short while. Then as soon as we complete the proof of authority node sale, we want to move as fast as possible toward actually deploying the proof of authority node sale, and etc., and then ramp it up. So for instance, maybe we'll sell, say, 100 or 1,000 nodes. In the beginning, it would be like a round robin for one committee with 4 people at a time, then 8 people at a time, 10 people at a time, 100 people at a time, and then we do 2 committees of 100 people at a time at the same time, 3 committees, 4 committees and at some point we have 10 or 1,000 committees of 100 people at the time, and that's when we really want to have proof of stake by then. Like when you have 100 committees, each of 100 people, you don't want to have a pool of 10,000 the same people to wrap around you. That's why you want the proof of stake to really work. So yeah, so we want to ramp up in our decentralization, and ramp up in a way that is safe from a technical point of view as well as from an economic point of view. So it's a trade-off that you buy something, you buy something, you pay it in another way. And I think we're not original here, but proof of authority is a great intermediary trade-off between centralized and totally decentralized, and that's what we want to start there. And
all right.
yes, it actually does not make sense to start right off the bat as proof of stake, because actually that's very unstable until the market is established and stable.
Yeah, so Sky Protocol is original in its architecture, but this part is very conventional and classic.
Yeah.
So reminder for the people who are considering this, the value of a proof of authority membership during 2-3 years to a purchaser is including fees collected during the early life of the network, the fees collected during the early life of the proof of stake network as well, because proof of authority members will have an initial oligopoly, so to speak, on being stake pool operators until a cutoff date. The early experience and readiness is going to enable people to become the biggest stake pool operators, even when the majority of being in the majority expires. And for those who already own Sky tokens, increased odds of making their investment grow because they're funding further the initial network release. And now this initial proof of authority validation network is planned to be replaced by Sky Protocol's planned proof of stake, which is a very well-known system of decentralization, so nothing new here. As soon as we have all the code working and as soon as we have been audited and a formal proof that there's no risk for the users of Sky Protocol to use that decentralized network, we want people to be as safe as possible, then we will transition. So in such a node sale, there's a potential for conflict of interest between existing proof of stake holders and future, proof of authority holders and future proof of stake members. So the question is, how do we compensate everyone fairly, Faré? So we're considering a few solutions to ensure alignment between the two classes of people who are participating in that. Faré, can you please explain to us the different possible options? Of course, this is something that we will request advice for. We will basically ask the community on our Discord and X in order to know what people think about it. But can you please present the few options that we have in front of us and that the community will have to choose?
Yes. The first option toward which we are leaning, because it's simpler and better defined, is what they call time boxing. That is, we are going to put a cutoff date, say 3 years from now or 3 years from the date of sale, of initial sale. 3 years after that, it will be proof of stake, or at least the proof of authority will not have a monopoly anymore. Or at least what you're buying with your proof of authority membership is part of this proof of authority oligopoly for the first 3 years of existence of the network. And after the first 3 years, we are planning to go full proof of stake without any limitations to proof of stake, which means that at some point in those 3 years, we will have the code of proof of stake ready, but at that point, we will still have some kind of oligopoly on stake pool operators. And after the 3 years, even that oligopoly is lifted. So at first you have all the fees, then you'll only have parts of the fees, but they're still guaranteed because you're part of an oligopoly. And after the 3 years, no oligopoly, like your rights extinguish after 3 years. So that's the option we are considering best, and it doesn't create too much disalignment between proof of authority members and proof of stakeholders, because the cutoff is well defined, and so there's no incentive from the proof of authority members to try to delay things, or from the proof of stake people to try to make things too early. Or there is the time boxing keeps things clean, let's say. So I like this thing. We could also say, oh, it's only until the cutoff date we go to proof of stake. The cutoff date is not determined, and then there's a conflict of interest where the proof of authority holders want to make it as slow as possible until this cutoff date happens, while the others want to make it happen earlier, and there's kind of a tension between the two. But by making it now, it doesn't depend on anything, just the date is like, it's fixed. The proof of stake holders may be angry in the beginning, but at the same time, the proof of authority members make the network worth something by funding it. So you cannot be too angry at people who could keep the lights on. So then the interest of POS token holders and POA members are aligned with time boxing. The other option we are considering, but I don't think we have a good answer on how to do it well, is letting the date of transition from POA to POS move and float as soon as it's ready, and no sooner we will convert from POA to POS. But then there's this residual conflict. To resolve this residual conflict between POA members and POS token holders by simply converting the POA memberships to POA tokens at the date of transition. And the problem being then, okay, how do we determine the rate or the price or at which memberships are exchanged for tokens? And there's probably a way to do it in a fair way. I don't know exactly. So it pushes the problem back, but there's still a problem to be resolved here. So maybe we can find a correct formula, or someone can convince me of the correct kind of auction between the two. But sure, I'm not saying it's impossible. It is possible, but what I'm saying that I don't see how we make it happen in a way that's simpler.
Okay.
To everyone, it's probably possible to make it fair. No, it's definitely possible to make it fair. I don't know exactly how to make it fair. It will not be simpler. But if someone in the audience knows what to make, oh yeah, I'll apply this well-known kind of auction or whatever, I'm all ears to do it. So that's the second option. I'm not discounting it, but right now it's not my first option. Convert memberships to tokens at the date that we move from POA to POS. So that's and that's also a way to keep up interest aligned. So these are the two main options to keep interest aligned. And of course, one other way that the interest of POA members and POS token holders can be aligned is just by having the sale happen in terms of Sky tokens, which means that just by buying your membership, you have to purchase tokens or half tokens, which means that that aligns the interest with the other token holder. You're propping up the price of the token, so the other token holders should be happy that you're participating in the POA sale. So that's another way we can keep the interests aligned.
Okay. So basically, we have a few fair options, with one of them being the one that usually most people use when they perform a node sale, because it is fair and already plans the transition to proof of stake and is incentivizing everybody. And we have two other options, so the community will decide. If people in the community have a strong knack for the second or third option, we can also offer that. That's technically feasible, but obviously at Sky Protocol, the first option seems the classic way here. What we want is to reinvent we don't reinvent the wheel in terms of node sale. We reinvent the wheel in terms of scalability, which is already quite a feat. So, but at least that the Sky Protocol community knows what the options are, and that's not something we're not going to ask the community about. That's something we will definitely probe the community for. So that means that the next week we're going to publish polls and requests on Twitter, X, and Discord in order to know what people think about that. And the idea is that the community is listened to, and that was exactly what happened during the token sale. People said, "Oh, we don't like this part," so because people said we don't like that, we didn't want to do something that upsets everyone. So the cool thing is to do something that is technically sane, and when the community is giving good advice and that the community's request is not technically insane, well, there's no reason not to listen to the community. So, dear listeners, stay tuned, because next week we're going to ask for your advice, for you guys to say what you think about these different options. Sale modalities now, Fare. How many seats to sell? You said at the beginning, tell me if I'm correct, at the beginning we will have a few whitelisted members, like 4 or 5 of them, then 10, 20, 100. So we're going to sell roughly between 100 and 200 nodes to start with. But can you explain what's happening with sharding and with the math behind it? What's
Yes.
happening? Why this number precisely? How did you calculate that?
So we know we want at least 100 members per topic. Maybe not at the beginning. In the beginning, we want to start with 4 members of a committee, like very small committee, making sure that the code just works. Then we'll ramp up the committees to be more and more and more. And so we'll probably sell more than 4 seats, but that's okay. In the beginning, we'll do a round robin. It's your turn for now, and then it's your turn, then it's your turn, etc., etc. We'll do round robin, and then we want to sell at the very least to sell 100 seats. I think that's the minimum we want to sell. But we could sell 1,000 or 2,000 because remember what we want is to think in parallel. So even if each committee has only 100 members, we will want to have 10 committees, 100 committees, or however many committees are necessary to scale to the level we want. So we don't want to sell too few memberships, but we don't want to sell too many either, because we still want to keep the pipes not completely empty. We don't want you to wait 90% of the time. So between 100 and 1,000 seats is probably what we want to sell.
Funny note for the community. So, when you are expecting a delivery at your home and basically the delivery company is telling you, yeah, you can expect the delivery between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. So please stay at home. Like, what the hell? And so when I started, documenting myself about node sales a few years ago, when that became a first, and now that it is a trend, and that many blockchain projects are using this technique, I was amazed to see what's the discrepancy between the lowest bracket and the highest bracket. Like, okay, between 100 and 200 was something intuitive for me, but for the community and the people who are not used to that, that's very classic in terms of node sales, to have something between 100 and 1,000, to have a factor 10 between the lower bracket and the upper bracket. That's normal. So it's probably not going to be to reach 1,000, but it's probably not going to be 100. And so yes, basically to sum it up, under a 100, we can scale purely with algorithmics like sharding and topics. But after 100 active members, we can do both, and this is really important. Faré, is there a limit per purchaser? There has to be, of course, to avoid having one person owning everything. But what's the amount? The proportion that a person should not be allowed to go over.
Okay, so definitely no one is allowed to have more than 33% of the network, or it's still centralized. Okay. In practice, more than 16% probably frowned upon. I think ideally, we want to do a first pass where we will sell, say, 100 memberships, with a rule that no one is allowed to have more than one. And we'll gauge the demand. Depending on the demand, we'll add 100 more members. If there's a very large demand, we can add 100 at a time until the price becomes too low. I think that's what we might do. We might sell by batches of 100 until the price becomes not worth selling more seats. So I think we'll say, hey, here's, and maybe it will be 50 only instead of 100, but something like that. We want to sell in rate, not too small, not too big batches, and we don't have a fixed number like it's 1,000 in the end. But let's say a target between 100 and 1,000, and depending on the demand, we'll have more. So we'll probably do first pass only 100. Only 100, but or even less, only 30, 32 or something, but only one person, only one membership per purchaser, and then okay, add more until we see there's no appetite. Then okay, no need to sell rights for not enough money.
Yeah, so it's like a crowdfunding. We have a minimal amount of people buying the node license to reach. It's very likely we're going to reach it because at the beginning of Sky Protocol, we already had people who were expecting to be node operators, and we had more than what was required. So, and now we have even more requests. So we know that we're going to reach this minimal amount. We have to cap it for safety and logics reasons. But basically, what is important here is that we're not putting people in position where one actor could jeopardize the whole network by owning most of it. And if we had the lovely team at Bubble Maps, that means that they could, survey the whole blockchain and see what is happening here. Okay, and so now question, because many people in the community are asking, is it USD to pay do we pay the node license, which is an NFT, do we pay it in USD, in ADA, in so Cardano's currency, or on Sky tokens? Is it a mix of that? What are your thoughts about that? Of course, the community has a lot to say in this regard. So again, this is where the top 20 first investors have been very useful by giving their advice, but also many other people in the community. So kudos to our fantastic community managers, notably Dominic and Ehsan and Hughes as well, because all these guys have been gathering the feedbacks of the community. So what are your thoughts very quickly about that, Fari?
So yes, the three obvious choices are Sky tokens themselves, which has the advantage also of giving an exit opportunity to our previous token holders if they decide that the thing is not good anymore for them. The second option is, of course, ADA, which is also simple because it's on-chain. It's the main token on the chain that we are based on. And of course, either USD or some kind of wrapped USD, which is probably the simplest for accounting purposes. So these are the three options. I don't think there's any fourth option, but the other three options we haven't decided, oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. But we're slightly leaning towards Sky token. But once again, it's not mandatory. We haven't. It's not a firm choice yet. We'll consult the community to see what our users want.
Yeah, well, this is something we're going to ask. Many people are considering that the most legitimate option would be a mix between ADA and Sky tokens, which is okay. It just we just need to assess whether it's a majority of ADA, majority of Sky, 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. So that's the question we have to address as well. So again, dear community, stay tuned because there are going to be polls this week and the week after. That's very simple. Same thing. Is there a fixed price or an auction? Is it one shot or multiple rounds? These are the things that are slightly cosmetic. That's not the huge thing, but that's also something we would gather advice about. But the most important advice we need from the community, because you guys are helping us build that. So we basically do not respond to investors at the moment. We respond to you. So what we have to do is to know what conditions of buying the node you find ethically acceptable, and what option for the transition between POA and POS you guys want to retain. Of course, we're seeing 3 years ahead, but that's now that we have to make up our mind, because we've seen many projects that didn't make this decision in the beginning, and so they regretted bitterly after that, because they thought, shit, if I had thought about that, I would have solved that issue earlier. So that's where we're taking care of that now. Planning for the node sales. So we are in April. We had a silly problem. You guys know, if you are following us on Discord, that one of our developers had a health issue. So I'm not going to give the personal details, but let's say that his eyes didn't allow him to look at his screen for 2 weeks. So he's not billing us for that. He's a very honorable guy, but still we're a bit late because of that. So Fari, can you please update us, give us an up-to-date timeline about the release of our milestone number 4 for Catalyst, and API and testnet, so that the node sale will happen just after that, obviously.
Yes, so I was hoping to release this month the catalyst, but it's not going to happen the next 2 days. So sorry about that. But definitely the first 2 weeks of this month, April, we want to release the catalyst, last milestones, and definitely also by the end of the month, the API and a centralized testnet. So we want to have a centralized testnet that will be appropriate for whitelisted partners who want to test our network with their stack. So if you have a DApp on Cardano, or even off Cardano, but primarily on Cardano we're targeting now. If you want to test with our stack, we want our centralized system to be there for that. It's not a system that will be there in production. The system in production will be proof of authority at first and then proof of stake, but at least you can test the mechanics, test the logic, and when it's working, then you will be ready for a network once we launch the network.
Yeah, our planning is going to be quite loaded for the next the 2 weeks following the release of the API and the testnet, because we're going to have the node sale to organize, but also quite a lot to do with the partners who are basically testing the API and giving their advice, saying, "Oh, this is what's happening. Okay, here we go." So, of course, all the partners that are listed on our website, or that we listed in our previous partnerships on X, are basically the people who are going to test that. The goal is for them to simulate and to see that, oh shit, yes, actually I'm increasing the throughput very significantly. So we're going to have to guide them through that and to hear their feedback. That's the whole point of this release. All right, Farid, thank you so much. Thank you, dear Sky community. I like it. Now we managed to keep that quite low. That's a hot topic, and we managed to keep it below half an hour. So see you next time, guys. Keep following us for the next 2 weeks. We're going to probe the community for advice, and we're of course going to release that milestone number 4, this API and that lovely testnet, and that node sale should obviously happen in May and be finished in the month of June. Some people asked us what's the budgetary plan for Sky Protocol. So basically what we had planned was to go with that budget through the testnet towards the mainnet and have a fully functional mainnet with that budget. So this is roughly the case. We will have probably more overhead, so we'll have time to buy some extra features, or we'll have a safety margin, which is always a good thing in this business. So with the node sale and all of that, that should be good. If we have catalyst grants, this is typically the kind of stuff we need to buy extra features, but we don't rely on them. And so you guys have seen that we are reaching out to incubators and investors. That's because in the long run, what we want is really to build the business intelligence solution. Sky Protocol is the basis to build a decentralized alternative to all the data querying engines like Google BigQuery, Microsoft Power BI, Salesforce Tableau, all that kind of stuff. All these data querying engines where you have to use AI to probe a huge database. We're not talking about an Excel file that is 40 pages long. We're talking about millions of lines that you're then analyzing, and you're using data scientists to have to derive a proper strategy from it. So insurance, supply chain, healthcare, all these things require business intelligence or data queries, and that's not something you can do at the moment. You cannot currently do that in a decentralized and tamper-proof way, but with Sky Protocol we want to penetrate that market. That market is projected to become a $500 billion market in the year 2032 or so. Yeah, Farid?
I would just say, yeah, I totally agree. And one step, a little bit before that, is all the data ingestion. We want to bring all that data to to the decentralized world. So yeah, the goal of bringing this data is that you can do something with the data, always queries, but we'll also have to bring the data to the decentralized world, and having enough
Yes.
block space to bring that data in is our goal. Like, oh, that data is like terabytes every month, or okay, we want to have terabytes every month, more and more space, and so bring in the data. So we're going to bring in the data, and then you can do stuff with the data, and that's what we want.
That's cool. I like it because it's a very positive note to see that I was thinking about, bringing the blockchain to the business world because this is where I come from. And
Yeah.
you are thinking to bring the business data to the blockchain world. And this use case is also very useful. But actually, yes, the two use cases are great.
So
Yeah.
Depending on where you are, if you're already in the blockchain where it's bringing the business to the blockchain, if you're in the business where it's bringing the blockchain, so it's the same. It's the same thing seen from two different opposite point of view.
Coming from business intelligence or from tech, in both cases, bringing one world to the other works in both ways. So these two use cases are bringing much more revenue to the Sky Protocol chain than mere scalability, and scalability is what is required to make the network sustainable.
Scalability is a means.
Yeah.
The goal is merging the decentralized and centralized world together and having the best of both worlds.
Thank you so much, Faré. Stay tuned, everyone. Like, share, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Bye-bye.